Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for taking the time this afternoon. I really appreciate it. I will get started in just a second. All right. Just so everybody knows, I am recording this. I'm sure Zoom told you, but that way, if you have any questions, you can just ask them. And I also send over a packet of what we call cheat sheets afterwards, which has notes on everything I've said. So you don't have to worry about taking notes during this if you want to just focus on the conversation. Also, at any time, if you have questions, just feel free to interrupt me. That's fine. And I'm happy to answer those. So all right, we will go ahead with this. So for those of you that I haven't been introduced to yet, I'm Lindsay Griffiths, Executive Director of the International Lawyers Network. And we're really, really excited to have you on as our members. And it's been just a great process. And so we're very excited to have you onboarded and get to know our members a little bit better. So let's just get started with a little bit of history about the ILN. We were founded in 1988, and during our 34-year history, have grown to a strong association of over 90 high-quality, full-service, and specialized law firms with more than 5,000 lawyers worldwide. The network's firms provide clients with easily accessible legal services in 67 countries on 6 continents. Our members are independent firms, mid-sized for their jurisdictions, and have broadly based commercial, corporate, business, and litigation practices, similar to what your firm does as well. They also have a strong domestic focus, which is coupled with significant expertise in international business matters with English fluency. All ILN members go through a rigorous screening process prior to joining, and in many cases, as we did in your case, we rely on a recommendation from one of our existing members to introduce us to our new firms. And we are Chambers ranked since 2011, which is when they started to rank global networks. This last year, we were awarded an increase in our ranking to a Band 1 leading law firm network in the Global Guide, and that puts us at the top 2% of law firm networks in the world. So we're pretty excited about that. We also got a new ranking of leading regional law firm network in the Global Guide for 2021 and a new leading law firm networks ranking for the Asia Pacific Guide for 2021, all of which we've kept and continued. And the most exciting thing was that we were awarded Global Law Firm Network of the Year by the Lawyer European Awards in the fall. So we were really happy about that. That happened in December. So for your reference, as I said, I'm the executive director. I've been with the ILN for about 17 and a half years, first as director of global relationship management and now as executive director. If you have any needs at any time, you can contact me either by email or phone. I do sometimes not check my emails at night, but otherwise I'm pretty accessible. And I am your resource for all things ILN, whether that's a referral or question about the network or our activities. We also have a 15-member board of directors, which is, you can see some of our board members here, or all of our board members here. And one of the things that we did in 2020 was to create an executive committee, which is made up of our chair, Pavla Kopachkova-Prikulova in the Czech Republic. You can see her there in the center. And 3 of our other board members, Attilio Ferrari, Andreas Kaiser, and Melissa Cano. And myself, and we really focus on both the strategy of the network and sort of the day-to-day activities. So they're also a great resource for you, anybody in the board, whether it's a close board member geographically or further away, you're welcome to reach out to them at any time if you have any questions that you're not comfortable asking me about or something you want to speak to another peer about. So here is a look at our coverage at the moment. All of the places in blue, we have at least 1 member firm. The darker blue, the more members. Obviously, the US is one of those. As you can see in Europe, our coverage is quite substantial. And we're really proud of that, even though people think because I'm based in the US that we're a US-based network. Actually, we've always been very, very heavy in Europe, which is, I'm sure makes sense for all of you based on the type of cross-border and international work that you're doing. So we see that reflected in the referrals that our members tend to refer within their own jurisdictions the most. Obviously, there are some other referrals that happen as well. But so for Europe, you'll probably see the most from some of your fellow European members. And let's take a quick look at our website. I'll go through some more details, but this is really probably where you'll be spending a lot of your time if you have any questions or need anything. One caveat, we are in the middle of updating this, thankfully, because it's quite old. And as you can see, it's very text heavy. So we're trying to make something that's much more user friendly. And we're about, I think, halfway through the process right now. So we hope to have that out later this year. And that will make things easier. So I'm going to focus mostly on, in terms of the website, on the things that are going to continue rather than some of the changes that we'll be making, so that you don't have to worry too much about those. As you can see here, we've got, actually, I'm going to click through to the website and we'll go over there. Let me just share that page for you. So this is our site as it is right now. As I mentioned, it's a bit text heavy. So we have the ability for you to send us news and other items. What we do with that is currently we put that on the main page. A little bit of that's going to go away because we want to focus more on the membership, but we still welcome all of your content, and we share your content on our social media too. We have a fairly good social media presence. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as Instagram. And so through there, we help to broaden the reach of the firm to share news and other substantive content that you might have. And the reason for doing that is twofold. One, obviously, it helps to expand your reputation as part of being a member of the ILN, but it also helps other members to see what you might be doing and what your clients might be doing, which I think is one of the ways that firms are able to do more referrals among each other, is to just have that knowledge of the other firms in the network. So that's one way that we're able to do that. The most crucial thing, though, obviously, is going to be finding another firm. And there are a couple of ways that you can do this, and I'll go over these again later. But the best way really is, if you have a question, you can always ask me, especially in these early stages of membership where you're just getting to know the other law firms. I have a good idea, both in my head, but also in a database, of what our members are their strengths are, who the right people are to talk to at each of the firms, and those types of things. So, and I'm also happy to make introductions at any time if there's somebody that you don't know. You can also feel free to introduce yourself as a member of the ILN, but it just sometimes can help to smooth that process. So then, if you wanted to find a firm on the website, we do have this Find a Firm button. Our search is going to get more robust, which we're really excited about. In this case, we have all of our firms currently listed by country. And then we would go to, let's just choose, what's a good example? I'll go to, let's do Switzerland. So let's say you have a referral for Switzerland. Here you can see on this sub page that we have 2 member firms there. This just gives their very basic information. And then to get more information on either of the firms, you would click on that individual firm. And that's going to give you the bio of the firm, the key contacts that are there, as well as any other partners that the firm has listed. And I work with each of our firms to put these together, and we'll do that right after this webinar. I will send you a profile that you can edit. But each of these is decided on by the individual firms, how much information they want to include on there, how many lawyers they want to include on there. You can include everyone, or you can just include your key contacts. That it's entirely up to you. So in this case, they've included most of the lawyers at their firm. But when you are making a referral, the best bet is to contact that main ambassador, which is what we call the firm contacts at each of the ILN member firms. And the reason for that is they're the most knowledgeable about the ILN, and they will have done the work to create the relationships among other member firms. And they're also the most knowledgeable about their own firms in our estimate. So when you reach out to them and you say, I have a corporate matter or a tax matter, they'll be able to filter you through to the right partner at their firm that can help you with that matter. The other thing that we recommend is that when you are making that initial referral request, that you copy me on that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we use it in our tracking. it's proven to be the most effective way for us to track referrals. But the second reason is more important, really, and that's because we're losing a lot of emails these days. Technology is great when it works, but it doesn't always work. And so you know that if you copy me on an email and there's no response, that I didn't receive it either. And because I will always respond within 24 hours to make sure that the firm that you're sending the work to has responded to you. And that's something that we ask all of our members to do, is respond to any referral requests, obviously not complete them in 24 hours, but to at least acknowledge that you've received them and that you have somebody that will be working on it and be in contact with them. So that's the primary way. The other couple of things on our homepage that I think are relevant are, you can see our events here. I'll talk about that more in detail in a couple of moments. We also list member events that are coming up, as well as any partnership events. We don't currently have any partnership events listed there, but what we do there is that we will work with organizations to raise the profile of the ILN and promote us in front of their audiences. And in those cases, there are often discounts that we can offer to our members. You'll maybe get some emails about those that will let you know that we're a partner on this event. And so if you ever see an event listed there, or you've gotten an email about an event that I've sent out, you can just let me know if you have any questions or would like to be put in touch with the organizers of that event. The other thing that I do want to mention here is our specialty groups. We have 13 practice and industry specialty groups. That's what we refer to them as. And they are designed, it's not an exclusive list, and I'll get into what that list is in a moment as well, but it's not an exclusive list of practices or specialties. But these are the groups where we have the most crossover among all of our member firms, where they focus on various projects, and it helps to build an additional layer of awareness within each of the members so that you've got those relationships with people that may practice in your own field. So we've got some of the major ones here, obviously corporate, cybersecurity, energy, estates and trusts, et cetera. So during the onboarding process, I will be reaching out to you to find out who would like to be included in which groups. I can let you know what their latest projects are. All of the descriptions include those as well, and introduce you to the chairs of each of the groups as well. So we are also always open to looking at new groups as well. Obviously, practice areas grow and change. So we think we have a couple that we may be looking at for this year. But if there's ever something that you either think should be a specialty group, or you're just looking for the contacts within that practice area or industry area, let me know. And I do, as I said, have that information in a database that we can share. And that is one of the areas that we're looking to expand our search as well on the website, so that you'll be able to access people by practice and specialty area. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. Yeah, just skip right through this. And also, we do invite you to join us on our social media. It's especially our LinkedIn group, which I would like to be a little more active, but I can tell you that in addition to ILN members in the group, we do have a number of clients and potential clients in there as well. And I've spoken to them to find out what they use the group for. And we post a lot of content in there. And that's one of the things, just to get awareness of the ILN, as well as the content that the members are producing. So if there's ever anything that you want to share, we welcome you to do that in the LinkedIn group as well. At the moment, one of the things we are looking to fix with our new website is a more easy transition between our mobile and our main website. We don't have that at the moment, so we do have a separate and distinct mobile website. That's at ilnmobile.com. And the reason that we didn't go for an app with our directory is that we make so many updates to the directory, lawyers coming and going, people changing practice areas, that every time we would make an update, you would be forced to download it. So we thought that would be too much of a burden. So we've instead made it a website. You can actually put an icon on the home screen of your phone, so that you're able to access that whenever you have a need for the ILN. And that produces different sets of information as well, in that it prioritizes the contact information of the people at other ILN member firms, because we assume that if you're looking something up on your phone, really you just want to reach out to another ILN member firm and either send their details to someone else or have their details directly yourself. So there's more information on that in the packet that I'll be sending as a follow-up. In terms of benefits of the ILN, there's some really strong ones. We are your referral partners. So we have done the work of vetting everyone, as we've said before, through that intensive process in the beginning. One of the things that I want to mention that we've done in the last year is that members wanted to have a better sense of how other ILN members fit into the network, how they interact, their referrals. So we decided we would institute a 360-degree member review process. We've always reviewed our members. We send out a biannual referral survey in January and July for the preceding 6 months, and that has some quality questions on there. We also encourage our members to tell us at the time of a referral if there's any issues, which most of the time, if that's going to happen, it's a communications issue. But every once in a while, we will have something that comes up that needs a little more attention. And so we've always done that. We've had the ability to create committees among our board members to review firms as necessary. So if there is even a board member that needs reviewing, those types of things have gotten done. But this process we wanted to make more involved. We visit the member firms, members of myself and the executive committee. We have some research that we do on our side and that we ask the firms to complete. And it's also an opportunity for our members to give us feedback, which we like to seek out as much as possible as well, so that we're constantly evolving and adding value to our member firms. So as I mentioned, the key ways to make a referral are either by reaching out directly to me to ask who you should refer work to go to our website and look people up there. Or you can also reach out to your ambassadors at the firm. You have a couple of ambassadors at the firm who will be getting to know the ILN better and better as time goes on, and they will become the most knowledgeable person in terms of who you may want to reach out to or which firms are the right ones to go to. But you can always start with me. And as I mentioned, we do ask that you copy us on that initial referral, just so that we have a record of it and can also make sure that it's handled in the way that it should be handled. Our conferences are another huge benefit. I know that's been really tough over the last couple of years with not doing anything in person. And we did pivot. I'll mention that in a couple of minutes, but most excitingly, in just about 2 weeks, we have our first in-person event since the pandemic. And they really have always been a key way for us to connect our members. And what our members say at the end of each conference is that they can't believe how much it feels like a family reunion, even if it's their first event. So the relationships for us really are the primary focus, and everything that we do throughout the conferences is to that end. This year, in a typical year, we would have 4 conferences. We would do 3 regional conferences: Asia Pacific, the Americas, and Europe, and then 1 annual conference. The thing about our conferences is everyone is invited to everything. So if there's ever a conference that you felt like you would benefit from in another part of the world, that's where you're absolutely welcome to join us. We don't expect that our members attend all 4 conferences. That's a lot, but we do ask that you attend your annual and then the regional conference. Generally, the regional conference will take place in late September, early October. For this year, because we're easing back into our in-person events, we're having 2 conferences. That's why the April conference is so early. Typically, it would be in late May or early June. And then we're having a second, what we're calling fall annual conference in the fall. And that's really just to help get people back into the swing of things and to also see what happens with the pandemic. So, who knows what our model will be in the future, but our hope is that we'll go back to the regional conferences next year. And just to give you a little overview of how these work, they're fairly similar in structure. They're a 3-day event. They start on Thursday evening with the welcome reception. We have 2 half-day business sessions. The reason that we don't do full days is people get really tired in the afternoon. And also that we think that the social functions that we have in the afternoon actually have a very important business function. And that's allowing you to create those relationships with the other members of the network. So we have then 2 afternoon sets of tours or activities that we designed to make sure that everybody gets a chance to know each other and mix with different people. And then we have 2 dinners, the Friday night dinner, which is the more informal one, and then our more formal gala dinner. And we cover a number of different subjects at the conferences, but really, again, the primary focus is to connect people. So that's going to be a heavy focus for the one coming up in April as well. That being said, as I mentioned, we did learn a lot during the pandemic. We pivoted to an entirely virtual model. We've had several virtual conferences and also just virtual events, and we found those to be extremely productive. It's a great way to connect our members across the world who are not able to attend an in-person conference for whatever reason, client demands, family demands, those types of things. And so I'm just finalizing the details, hopefully to also add a virtual component to our in-person conference. And I'll be sending out some more information about that, but also keep an eye out for other opportunities for meetings that we have. We did put a pause on that towards the end of last year as people started to be overwhelmed by Zoom meetings and just spending too much time online. We wanted to be, recognize that obviously you're going to prioritize your client meetings over a networking meeting. So, but we are going to be bringing back some of those for different groups. What's been especially successful is at our in-person conference 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, we held what we called ILN Light, our first ILN Light. And that was for our younger lawyers. We did a half-day business session, peer-to-peer networking for them. And then we incorporated them into our regular conferences so they could also network with more senior experienced ILN members. And so succession is very important to us. That's something that we transitioned to an online model, but we will be doing both online and in-person opportunities for that. So does anyone have any questions while I'm buzzing through this? Okay. And apologies for my voice. I had an asthma flare up about a week ago and spent a little time in the hospital. So it's not fully back to where it should be, but it's getting there. Our specialty groups, as I mentioned, that's another way for networking to happen. We will get you involved in those following the call. And then here's the full list of our groups at the moment. And as I mentioned, these groups, this is not an exhaustive list of the practice areas that the ILN members cover in the network. This is just what we've decided to focus on at the moment for varying reasons. So all of our member firms, most of our member firms obviously will have their own strengths, but for the most part, we have full service law firms in the network who practice pretty much all of these things. Okay. Then a couple other things about us that will be relevant. Now that we are starting to get back to some travel, when you do travel, we encourage you to either let us know or definitely let the local member firm know so that you can have the opportunity to meet with them in their home city. We may also let you know about people traveling to Brussels who are coming in from the ILN who want to meet and connect with you a little bit better as well. Similarly, if you're going to a conference that's not an ILN conference, depending on what event it is, there might be other ILN members there. We do that for the International Trademark Association as one example. So we can do everything from just connecting you with the other participants to actually setting up an event that's going to happen at those conferences. So that's just a couple of ways you can get involved. Also for our younger lawyers, I'll mention we have two other opportunities. Well, some of this is for our senior lawyers too. One of those is secondment. We've had firms that either trade lawyers or just have another member firm's local lawyer work with them, and that's really effective. So that's an opportunity if you have younger lawyers or you are a younger lawyer who's looking to either work in another city, spend some time there, or if you're looking to welcome lawyers into your own firm as well. I know that can be challenging depending on language restrictions or practice restrictions, but just know that those opportunities exist. We're hoping to get back to them now that we can do more traveling. And the other thing is our mentorship program. We are in the 6th year of our mentorship program, and it's been really wonderful both for the mentees and the mentors. They've learned a lot. We connect people across borders and sometimes across practice areas, and they are able to help young lawyers to develop in their careers. And it's the more experienced lawyers who have participated have gotten a lot out of it, and our younger lawyers have gotten a lot out of it too. In fact, last year we had a lawyer who was promoted twice during the mentorship program, and he credited the work that he did with his mentor as part of that. So that's a real selling point for our members. So with that, I know that I'm giving you a lot of information. This feels like a fire hose at the moment. So I don't expect you to just take it all in at once. But if you have any questions at the moment, I'm happy to answer those. And then I'm also a resource if you have any questions any other time to just drop an email too, or call me on the phone. Any of those things is fine. So with that, does anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you for this speech here. I just have one little question. That is, of course, how strict the network works with regard to responding to mails when there is a request for a referral to another law firm in the country. Because it's time consuming.
Sure. I mean, we do ask that you respond to a referral within that 24-hour period. Again, having the referral completed is obviously, that's a longer process, and that's going to depend on the factors of the matter and those types of things. So we don't get involved in that portion of the referral. It's however long that process takes is however long that process takes. And some referrals are ongoing, some referrals become direct clients. Any number of things can happen in that process. But for that initial request, we do ask that if you can just say, even if you're not addressing it at all at that moment, just confirm that you've gotten the email and let the other firm know that you'll be working on it or looking at it. Again, if for anyone that is, I think we've all learned in the pandemic that you need to have your own time and shut off every once in a while. So we're certainly not punishing anyone for that. But it's more just to make sure that there's coverage and that things are handled if someone reaches out to you.
There's also the question of whether we also already have to contact the other firm when we're not able to do the work ourselves to check whether they have a conflict and whether they're ready to take up the matter. And we often refuse cases ourselves, so we may have, of course, the issue when we refer to others and they cannot do it.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. And you're correct. That does happen. Conflicts come up. There may be a firm that, doesn't have a certain practice area that you're looking to refer to. In those cases, there's a couple of things. One, it is the responsibility of the member firm to be honest about, and that's part of our responsibilities, our ambassador agreement form, which I'll be sending over as well. But the firm does have a responsibility to let you know if they are capable and able to do the work. And then if there are any conflicts, that's part of that initial period of discussion. If a firm isn't able to do a piece of work, we do have a number of other contacts. So while obviously we always prioritize referring things within the ILN and to other ILN members, if you do run into a case where you need another firm, either in a city where we have an existing member, for whatever reason that firm's conflicted out or can't do the work, or if you're looking for a firm in a jurisdiction where we're not currently represented, you can still ask me. I have a really good database of law firms and legal relationships across the globe, and I can get you somebody that can help you. There's, I think, only been I want to say one or two instances in the last 17 years that we haven't been able to find someone. So.
Do you sometimes get information back on referrals by a member firm and when the referrals have not been optimal?
Yes, yes, that does happen. Fortunately, not frequently, but that's part of our what we consider our quality control process. And so as an initial measure, we always look into what happened in that particular matter. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes that can be a simple communication issue where, one party had a different idea of what the outcome should be than another party. But other times there are things that should actually be changed by the member firm. Maybe there's, a responsiveness issue, or the ambassador has found that they've taken on too much work internally. Often anybody who is generally an ILN ambassador often has a leadership role at their own firm. So sometimes there can be a conflict there. And so we may look to either, supplement them with an additional ambassador or bring in somebody else. There have been times where we've removed firms for one reason or another. So that's not something, it's not a question for us of once a firm is in the network, they're in forever. We are constantly looking at, what those concerns are. It is very rare for us to do that because, a firm would obviously have to have some sort of egregious issues there. It's usually either, they're not committed to the network and that they're not responsive, they're not attending things. Obviously, there are, mitigating factors for that. But if we feel that a firm doesn't, you can always tell. I mean, I'm sure it's the same with your clients. You can always tell when someone is communicative with you and involved and engaged. And if a firm is not doing that, then there's not that much value for them or for us. So, but again, that's very rare that happens for us. And if there's a serious breach of quality, there is an incident we had, maybe 15 years ago where two firms sued each other. They're both still in, well, no, they're not both still in the network, but they did both stay in the network for a long time. One of them is still with us. And the two lawyers involved actually stayed friends afterwards. So, sometimes things like that do happen, but it's only one time in probably the ILN's 34-year history that we've gone to that level. Otherwise, we can get, members of the board involved to negotiate and discuss, but it's really very, very rare that happens. But we do keep a close eye on it to ensure that the level of quality is high.
Okay, fine. I'm sure there are other questions from other people.
Anything else I can answer?
Hi, Lindsay, this is Carol. Do you have an idea on the number of referrals, specifically within the EU? I mean, because I assume that the majority of members is based in the US. Do you see a lot of traffic from the US towards the EU or vice versa? Or can you tell or give some information about how the EU or countries in the EU are included in referrals?
Sure. Actually, most of our members are in the EU. So we have fewer members in the US than we do in Europe, which has been really good for us. So actually, the level of referrals in Europe is the highest of all of our members. So let me just take a quick look at our most recent survey. I don't have like one number off the top of my head, but usually, I'm trying to think what we looked at for last year. It ends up being, I think, the majority of referrals will be interregional. So most of the referrals that you see will be within countries from Europe. After that, what we saw last year was really interesting because obviously we were paying attention to our numbers in the pandemic to see what the impact of that might be and not seeing each other. But we've seen an increase both from the Americas and Asia Pacific into Europe. So we're not really sure what the background of that is, but that's another reason why obviously connecting with members from all over the world is useful and not just having a regional network for us. But we did see an increase, and not just the US, but also South America. We've done a lot of growth there over the last 10 years. And so we have some really strong member firms in South America, and we've seen a number of referrals increase from there as well. They do tend to be more regional, but that number went up last year, and the same for Asia Pacific. If I look at, let me just take a quick look at our last, when we do the referral request, just for everyone's information, we do then circulate that to everyone so that the members have an idea every 6 months of, who's getting referrals, how many referrals are coming out. We've always said, and this is since the beginning of our membership, that referrals are underreported. And that's for a lot of reasons. One, an ongoing referral will not get reported as a current referral. Clients will become your clients as opposed to the other firm's clients. But also just the natural course of doing business. Some firms are very, very good at tracking their referrals, what's coming in, what they're sending out, and other firms don't look at that at all. So there's a number of firms we have that never report to us, which is challenging. So I think we've assumed that anywhere between 50 and 100% of referrals are underreported, but I will give you a look at what one of our referral reports looks like. And we can just take a quick look at that. So this is for the the final 6 months of last year. You can see, and we do 2 reports. We do a referrals made and referrals received. So you can see what your firm has sent out, and then what your firm has gotten in, as well as what's happening in other jurisdictions as well. So we do that by country. You can see here, we've got Argentina, Australia, for Austria, and then just to go through how people are getting referrals. So the markets that you would expect are obviously the hot markets, China being one of them. But we also see quite a few referrals going into and among Europe. Like, for example, that's into Flatgate, which is our English member. They've gotten a lot. Again, Germany, France, Greece. So the majority of these, Italy sees a lot. Japan, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, and then so as I mentioned, I don't have numbers on top of my head, and here are US referrals. But the majority of our referrals do go among and within and to Europe. So.
Oh, that's very interesting, and also to see the matter that is subject of the referral. As you can see, if it's IP, corporate, or litigation, that's interesting to see.
Yeah, so I can tell you that based on those statistics, the number one level of referrals we get is in the corporate group, followed by litigation. We've, some of them are obviously niche referrals, and we do record all the different types, but we've also seen then an increase based on the work that has been done by our specialty groups. So we do see a lot of IP work in the network because our IP group is fairly active. And we see a lot of tax work. Real estate is another one that's very big. Labor and employment is also big for us as well. But I would say the number 1 and 2 are corporate and litigation.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. As I mentioned, if you do have any questions at any time, let me know. And I'm happy to answer them. I will be sending you more materials after this, and we'll get you further along in the onboarding process, which includes making the announcement to the full membership. They already know because they've vetted you, but we like to make a big splash about it too. And then welcoming Carol in a couple of weeks at our annual conference, which we're really excited about too. We've got a good number of firms coming. Everyone's very excited. A few exceptions, obviously, where there are still travel restrictions, but it will be actually a very highly European attended conference because of the location and I think the level of restrictions. So we're very excited about that. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Nancy.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.